Everybody, welcome to today's call, the Senior Solutions Friday Agency call. We got a great show lined up for you. You got your host on here. I'm Joe Johnson. We got Jimmy Hernandez on here as well. We've been working on this for a couple of days, and it's kind of a part two. If you have been with us for several months, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, we had Michael Mahalik on. He did a part one back to basics. So if you want, it was a great, over an hour long. I don't think we'll even run an hour today, but if you want to go back and check that out, go back to our YouTube channel and certainly check that out. And then Jimmy, before we kick into everything, I know we were talking yesterday. You had a great sales call last week when I was down in Florida, and you had a great testimonial and a great success story about using our new quoting software, FEX Toolkit. But I thought if you could just take a minute and kind of follow up and with that and kind of let us know what happened, because it was kind of a cliffhanger as far as what. So maybe go back and kind of explain to those people that maybe weren't on the call last week, kind of explain the process. But now we have the part two of that.
Okay, great. So I was last week working with a couple. They've been my clients for about 4 years now. And both of them have some medical concerns and issues. And I remember originally getting a couple of turndowns before I actually found somebody to place it with. And they had to go with 2 different carriers. And over time, I guess you can say they've had some financial problems and occasionally had a couple of, almost lapse scenarios. And then finally they did lapse their policies. And they had some, I guess you can say some unexpected things come up. But anyway, so like their policy lapsed a few months ago and they wanted to get, their policies issued again. And the husband, the carrier that we originally had him with, turned him down this time, right? So like, before he was preferred, and now he didn't even qualify for graded, right? So it's kind of weird. He really hadn't had any different medical concerns, but to make a long story short, so I said, let's go ahead and use this this underwriting tool that we have now. I told him, it's a proprietary software that that we're using, and so I started plugging in. I just went straight to the medications, Joe. I didn't like asking like, what are your medical conditions. I said, let me see all your medications, which
Right.
They both had big list, right? So I started plugging them in one at a time. Last week I shared my screen. I shared a couple, I think 2 or 3 pages of all the medications. That's how long.
I remember that.
And I didn't even get them all in there, just by the way. And then one of the medications, actually 2 of them were dual use, dual purpose, right? And so I was kind of concerned about that because one of them, it said the purpose was for psychiatric or something like that. And
Okay.
and really it was for migraines. He suffers from migraines. But the toolkit came back, and for him, it made a recommendation, and it said that he would be eligible for Forrester's Financial, the Plan Right Preferred. I was like kind of surprised. Wow.
Okay.
And so, and then it had, it gives you the full list of all the different carriers, and it shows their pricing. So that was kind of cool. So when I flipped the screen around to show the customer, they can see, wow, look at the lowest price, which was Forrester's, was $132 a month. And then the higher prices went all the way above $200 a month for the same $25,000 of coverage.
Right.
So we submitted the application. I did the phone interview with him. We talked about the multi-purpose medications. And then one of the questions, and this was the cliffhanger that Joe talked about, the client got to refer to underwriters. So we did not get a decision on the phone interview. right? And most people are like, oh man, it's not going to go through. But I had a really good feeling about it, and that's what I said last week. So what the issue was is one of the questions asked if he has peripheral neuropathy, which he does, but it's not associated with diabetes. So we actually answered that question no. It came up on the MIB in the prescription history, and that's why it had to get referred. The cool thing is when they asked him about the scenario, he explained to them in 1976 when he was in the Navy that one of the hatches on the vessel had slammed on his ankle and kind of crushed it a little bit, and that was what caused his peripheral neuropathy. That was in 1976. He was not diagnosed with diabetes until 2008, so it's totally unrelated, right?
Right.
To make a long story short, I finally got to talk to somebody yesterday in new business, and they said yes, it's already been approved. We haven't updated the website yet, but he was approved this morning. That policy is getting issued today, and he was approved at preferred level day one coverage. So that was a beautiful thing. I called them; they were so excited. So that that turned out really, really good. His wife, we plugged in all her medications, and hers came back, and it gave the list, and her recommendation was Royal Neighbors. And I wrote my first Royal Neighbors app. It was in person because we were sitting on the dining room table. Had my little laptop with me. I did the most simplest, easy app. I was like, oh my God, this is too easy.
You
And
did
then,
an e-app, right?
yeah, I did the e-app, and it came back. It processed the MIB and the RX history right there, and it came back with a hard approval certificate number. It was issued. It was a beautiful thing. We scheduled it for the 3rd, which was a couple of days ago. The money was in my bank account yesterday. I was like, oh man, this is just too easy.
Sweet. Hey, refresh my memory. With Royal Neighbors, you do an e-app, um, instant decision. Is there a phone interview that you do as well?
No phone interview. That's what I really liked about it. If you're doing the sell by phone, then you have to do a phone interview. You're not able to do the e-app. I
Oh,
think.
right. But okay, yeah, okay, that's what I was getting. But if you're face to face, you can do
Yes.
the e-app, get everything done right then and there, and awesome, dude.
And what's
Awesome.
kind of cool is that it actually uses DocuSign to do the e-signature. I thought that was neat.
Hmm, that is really cool.
Mhm.
That's a great story, dude. And I mean, it just goes to shows that you never know. Don't get discouraged if you get, if it gets referred to an underwriter. And the great thing about a lot of the carriers is that they will listen to reason, especially if you have. I think your client was taking gabapentin, right?
Correct.
Yeah, gabapentin is one of those drugs that's widely prescribed for a lot of different reasons. I know I was cracking up. I mean, kind of a side note. We'll get back into our topic, but um, what was it? I took my vet actually prescribed one of my dogs gabapentin.
Oh wow.
Is what was it? Maybe when Lucy was a puppy, maybe after her surgery, they get the spade surgery.
Right, right.
And I'm reading the thing and I'm like, gabapentin, wow, it's kind of weird. But so there's a lot of drugs out there that are dual use, and it's really good to do what Jimmy did and really explain, put it on the application that it is a dual use medication. And a lot of times the carriers will listen to you. But man, what a great success story, and just goes back to that, utilizing that tool that we have, the FEX toolkit, which is an awesome underwriting toolkit. All right, man. Well, let's hop right into it, man. Today's topic is, like I said, it's part 2. Back to the basics. And the reason why, Jimmy and I wanted to do this call is that we just feel like, recently we've brought on quite a few new agents, and I just think in it's, I don't know, maybe it's human nature is that we have a tendency to overcomplicate things. I know I'm guilty of it. If there's a way to make something more complicated, I'll figure it out. Okay. And a lot of times I got to go back, I got to check myself and just say, hey, Joe, dude, you're making this thing way more complicated. It's not that hard. Just do this, that, and the other. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. I'm sure everyone has heard of the acronym. Well, depending on how old you are. I don't think it's probably not politically correct. You would never hear this used today, but the acronym KISS, KISS, which stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. Okay. And I know, everyone's offended to hear the word stupid. But listen, like it says, great advice hurts my feelings every time. Today's the day to just get over yourself. Don't worry about it. This phrase, I found out, Jimmy, it was actually coined by the U.S. Navy. They started using it. They're the first ones to use it back in 1960 for new recruits getting into the Navy and getting on these, different ships and different duties, is to keep it simple, stupid. And I think that's what we really need to do is just, with ourselves, is just realize is that, what we're doing and the sales that we're making, honestly, it's really not that complicated. And I think we all have a tendency to make it a lot more complicated than what it is. So the purpose of today's call is we're going to break it down to really the five things, the five basics that you really kind of need to understand. And as time goes on, as you become more proficient with your sales, you can gradually add, more components to it. You don't need to know everything up front. We're not sending a man to the moon. We're not doing heart surgery or brain surgery. This is sales, and I can remember, when I first got my start in sales, I don't know about you, Jimmy, but man, I didn't get like any training. There's like, go get him, Tiger. It's like, what am I supposed to do? You know what? And I figured it out. Luckily, we're not telling you that. We're not telling you, hey, you're on your own. We've got a great system in place to help guide you and a lot of tools. I think sometimes, Jimmy, to a fault, is that we have too much information almost. You know what I mean? It's like information overload. So today is the day that we're gonna, especially if you're new, and maybe if you've even been around for a while, is go back to the basics. I know if you look at any in business, especially in sports, whenever anyone is having a slump and they go to their coach, what do they tell them, Jimmy? It's always go back to the basics, right? Yep. Fundamentals, go back to the basics, your footwork, if you're a quarterback, even, offensive lineman, basketball, go back to the basics, go back to the basics. And that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And what are the basics? Well, the first basic that Jimmy and I want to talk to you about, and this is really sales 101, seems kind of obvious, but you need people to talk to. At the end of the day, if you don't have people to talk to in sales, you're out of business. And it doesn't matter where those people are coming from, whether it's you're self-generating your own leads, you're purchasing leads, you're doing social media, or it's your warm market. At the end of the day, there's only two ways to find people to talk to, and it comes from either a pool of people that you already know. That would be your warm market. You already have their names and numbers in your phones. You know who they are. There's some type of established relationship, or there's people that you don't know. And that's when marketing and advertising comes into play, regardless of how you're doing it, whether you're paying for it, you're outsourcing it. And that's what I do. And Jimmy and I mean, we've done a lot of talks about lead generation. We're not going to get into all that today, but Jimmy and I have both tried, right, Jimmy? Pretty much every form of lead. At the end of the day, guys, the my recommendation is, except for your warm market, when it comes to lead generation, man, let the professionals handle it. Outsource it, whether it be Facebook leads, mailers, direct mail leads, all the different types of lead generation. Outsource it. Pay a professional to do that, and let's do what we do best, which is prospect and go out and make a great presentation. Jimmy, when it comes to people to talk to, what would you like to add to the first line here?
What I'd like to say, and I think it's just natural, we want to save money, and I've done, like Joe said, so many different things, right? We've done Facebook advertising. I've hired a company. I've done it myself. I've done, purchased different types of leads. And what's funny, and Richard and I, we kind of explored a lot of these different opportunities, and we always kept coming back to the same thing. You know what? When it all said and done, the direct mail lead is the best one. I mean, dollar for dollar, that's your best lead, and it's consistent. So if you can lock in where you're paying a set price instead of paying for a drop and not knowing how many leads you will get or won't get. If you're able to lock in and get a set price, then you're able to budget your leads, and like Joe just said, let somebody else handle it. You do what you do best and get in front of the customer.
Yeah,
So
and whether it's new leads or old leads, it doesn't really matter. And the best way to contact these leads is just to go door knock them. And like I said, when it comes to that, I don't care how old the lead is, whether you're spending a lot of money or a little money. The key is people to talk to, is that you need, every single week, you need a fresh batch of leads coming in. You can't keep working the same 20 leads for 3 weeks. You need a new batch of 20 coming in every single week. So you got to have people to talk to. The second is that you need carrier appointment. I made this singular. So many times we contract agents and their appointments are coming in and we're coaching them through the process. And I'm like, dude, what's holding you back? Oh, I'm waiting for my carrier appointments. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? You already have three appointments. How many do you need? Oh, I want to wait till they all come in. Guys, you need one appointment. That's all you need. You don't need 5 or 6 different carrier appointments. Waiting for all the appointments to come in, it's only going to slow you down, because then, if you use that as an excuse of, hey, I'm waiting for my carrier appointments, you know what the next excuse is going to be? Well, I got to study all these carriers. Now I got 6 appointments. That's great. I've got all these carriers. Now I've got to know every carrier inside and out. Man, just again, keep it simple, stupid. One carrier. When I had one of my best years, wrote over $250,000 of personal production. It was basically with 2 carriers. That was it. A regular carrier and a guaranteed issue. That was it. So, if you're getting started, I'm just telling you, man, if your first appointment comes through and it's whoever, Mutual of Omaha, Forsters, or whatever carrier gives you that first appointment, run with it. You don't need 6 or 7 different carriers. And I think, I don't know if you've noticed that, Jimmy, but I just seem to find that as a common theme with new agents that are coming on board, is that for some reason they feel like they need to wait till all their appointments come in. Have you noticed that as well?
that and wanting to learn them all. I mean, to me, that's the biggest waste of time.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like, similar to Joe, when I first came on with Senior Solutions, I had one carrier, which was Mutual of Omaha, and they had, either level or graded. That was it, right? And so I didn't have like Gerber or Great Western or any other guaranteed issue. I just had Mutual of Omaha, I had one carrier. And so I learned right away about the accidental death, which is guaranteed issue because it pays only if they die by accident. So if I came across somebody that wasn't eligible for level or graded, I wrote accidental death. I mean, so guys, you just got to get creative and just, make it happen with what you have. I got to tell you, it didn't slow me down any. I didn't have any customers saying, well, what other carriers do you have? What other options do you
Right,
have?
right.
You know, they're going by me, and Mutual of Omaha being a household name and, big name brand recognition, they were comfortable with it. I'm telling you, I did everything. And then once I wrote that for a few months, then I learned a little bit about like Term Life Express, and then maybe I sold a policy here and there, and then I learned about GOLE. I think the second carrier I had was Gerber, and that was probably like maybe 9 months into being with Senior Solutions, and that was my second carrier. And then little by little, I started adding, other carriers on. But I mean, really and truly, you want to just go with what you have, learn the products and the ins and outs and the underwriting and the application with what you have, and be successful with that first. And then, add on as needed. I
Right.
had a guy recently, he kept wanting, oh, I want IUL and I want to learn about this and I want to learn about that. And dude, you're all over the board. You can't even sell, a living promise yet. Do that first, and then we'll talk about these other ones. So
It,
anyway,
it goes back to keep it simple, right?
exactly.
Man, the more you try to do, the more you try to complicate it, it leads to procrastination. And that's what we're kind of the purpose of the call today is to help everybody, whether you're new or you've been here for a while, is to just, man, just everybody, including myself and Jimmy, let's get back to the basics. Let's eliminate all the excuses and let's eliminate the procrastination and let's just go for it, man. And the great thing about these carriers, especially we're selling final expense, I mean, you don't really need to know that much about the product. Like Jimmy, we were talking about earlier, guys, the clients already know how life insurance works. We don't need to explain to them how it works. You pay a monthly premium, and as long as you pay that premium upon your death, this is how much the carrier is going to pay out. The great thing that I love about final expense is the fact that the application itself is the underwriting guideline. I mean, all you basically have to do is when you're meeting with the clients is ask them verbatim the questions that are on the application, and then most of them, if it's either most of the products we have are either a 2-tier or a 3-tier, so it's kind of a cascading process. So I mean, the carriers themselves have made it very, very easy to sell their products, which I love, and that's one of the things I love about final expense. All right, the third is that you're going to need some basic supplies. Okay, we're not expecting you to go out there with nothing. My recommendation is order a starter kit. You need your basic stuff, business cards, ID badge, and some folders. And then whatever carrier you're going to be working with, you really only need the applications. I mean, if you want to order, if you want to get brochures in, that's great. Trust me, I've ran plenty of appointments without any type of brochure. The clients never asked me, hey, where's the brochure? The only clients that ever asked me for a brochure were the ones that weren't buying. Okay, everybody who ever purchased from me never asked for a brochure. I'm leaving them with the Senior Solutions folder, and in that folder, I'm writing in there in their receipt who the carrier is. And now with the new Senior Solutions starter kit, you've got really that all-inclusive final expense brochure, which really kind of explains final expenses. That kind of makes it nice where you don't miss it. It's not a bad idea to have brochures from the different carriers, um, but you certainly, it's not a requirement. The other thing with basic supplies is that you don't need to wait until you have this massive office set up and you have supplies from every single carrier. All you really need, my recommendation is all you really need, whether you're going to do an electronic application, then you really don't even need a paper application. Although I really do like a backup. You don't have to wait for the carrier to send that to you. Every carrier we have, you can log right into the agent portal, go to forms and applications, and you can print the application that you need. Now maybe you have the excuse of, well, I can't do it because I don't have a computer, or I don't have a printer. You don't even need a computer. You don't even need a printer. You can have those forms emailed to Staples or Office Depot. They can print them for you, which I've done plenty of times. So get your basic supplies. A basic office setup, very basic. Doesn't need to be anything very complex.
Hey,
Jimmy,
Joe,
yeah, go ahead. What do you?
you're so right on that. Yeah, I don't know what it is about new agents. Like they think that they have to be able to print it on their own printer. Oh, I gotta go buy a printer. When I first started, I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have a printer. I had a cell phone. And on that cell phone, I could log in and just hit the little arrow and I would email it to Office Depot every single time. That's how I got all of my supplies, my forms, all the stuff that it's on the Senior Solution website for, I guess, agents, materials that you stuff your pre-sale folders.
Yeah,
I did it
yeah.
right off my cell phone when I was standing in line at Office Depot, and every now and then I still do the same thing. I mean, so guys, don't make an excuse. Don't make it harder than what it is. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, all you really need in this business, I do think probably, I mean, there's probably nobody listening to this call today that doesn't have a phone. That would be my guess. Okay. I swear that's all you need is a smartphone, man, to do this business. And let Staples or Office Depot or whoever your office supply places, let them do the printing for you, man. It's awesome. All right, so that's basic supplies. We're getting down to the end of what the basics are. Remember, keep it simple, stupid. So it's not going to be a long list. Basic understanding of the scripts, guys. Here's the thing: you will get more proficient, and you will learn the scripts better as you go. But you don't need to be an expert. You don't have to have everything memorized. The door knock script. I mean, how much simpler can we make the door knock script? It is so easy. You walk up to the door, you're knocking on the door, the client comes out, and it's, hey Jimmy, how you doing? My name's Joe Johnson. I'm the state licensed agent who oversees the area here. Hey, the reason why I was stopping by, you had recently filled this form out. My job is just to get you the information in which you requested. It only takes a few minutes to go over the programs. May I come in? Or something to that effect. It doesn't need to be anything complex. In fact, when it comes to prospecting, the simpler you keep it, honestly, the better. You want to try to mitigate any type of long conversations on the phone or at the door. You want to be able to get very swiftly, be able to get into the house where you can make your full presentation. And as far as the presentation goes, guys, it doesn't need to be perfect. All you really need to do is be able to get into the house, do a little bit of warm up, make nice, go through the folder. I mean, all you really have to do is just open up the folder and go through the forms as we've laid out. We've got a video on how to do it. transition from the folder, do the flip chart. There, all you're really doing is reading what it is. From the flip chart, you're going to ask the client a few health questions. With that, you can just use the application. You can pull out whatever carrier you're selling, is have their paper application out, read the health questions exactly as they're written on there, find out what they're qualified for, give them a quote, and write the app. That's really it. That's all there is to it. And I think we, to maybe to our detriment, Jimmy, maybe we've made it seem so complicated. Today's call is to tell you is that, listen, your door knock script, your in-home presentation, it does not need to be perfect. I can tell you this from personal experience, perfection is overrated because perfection is never going to happen. None of us are ever going to be perfect. So if we can eliminate that excuse of, hey, this needs to be perfect, because trying to achieve perfection only leads to procrastination. So let's just narrow it down to Jimmy. It just needs to be good enough. You know what I mean? I don't like using the word winging it, but in a sense, you just need to go out there and do it, because repetition is what's going to make you good. Practice makes perfect, right? And eventually, as you do more and more presentations, your confidence is going to be able to build. You'll be able to maybe add a little bit more complexity to your in-home presentation. Just as we were talking about the carriers, man, only start with one carrier. Learn that one carrier. As like Jimmy's story, he started with Mutual of Omaha, ran with Mutual of Omaha for over 9 months, a single carrier, and then slowly started adding other carriers. Now Jimmy knows all the carriers like the back of his hand, but this is years and years later. When it comes to the presentation or the sales scripts, Jimmy, what would you like to add to keeping that simple and basic?
What I'd like to say is, particularly when you get in the home and you have the pre-sale folder, what that really is all about is just building rapport with your client. That's all. That's the purpose. That's the only purpose. That allows that client to kind of warm up to you, to get in the right mindset to purchase, to make a buying decision. And you're just providing information, warming up, building the rapport, creating value. What kind of value are you creating? You're creating value in yourself, of yourself, showing them that you're helping them with these different decisions that they have to make, or providing information on how things work as far as final expenses, right? That's all it's designed to do, is to build rapport. Now, I'm going to tell you this, that everybody has a different personality. Some people, they need a lot of, I guess you can say, warming up to somebody. Other people, they're very, as matter of factly, just show me the numbers. They don't need all of that, right? So like, there might be some scenarios where you can skip all of that, just depending on your customer's personality and how urgent they are. What you
Right.
need to understand is that you don't have to do this whole long presentation to give somebody a quote or to ask for the order. Joe, let me just ask you this. What's probably the fastest sell you've made, like in time?
I'll tell you, but you won't believe me.
I will.
My world record is 12 minutes in and out of the house
In and out with an app.
with an application. I walked in, it's down in Gary, Indiana. It's either Gary or Hammond. Walked in, the guy like, listen, I don't want to hear any of your bullshit. Just tell me how much it's going to be. Whipped out my phone, pulled it up. I just assumed he was preferred. Gave him the quote. He goes, I'll take it. Wrote him up and was out. I mean,
Amen.
I would have totally blown the sale had I said, well, great, sir, I understand you're in a hurry, but I really need to go through this folder with you. That was it, man. I showed him the quote on my phone, what that one, the carrier that you used, Mutual of Omaha, and he goes, I'll take it. And that was it,
Exactly.
man.
And you know, Joe's wearing the 10X hat, which is from Grant Cardone. And Grant, you know, he's of the persuasion that, you know, this is information, I guess you say, society with technology and, you know, the internet. We have access at the tips of our phone to check stuff out, right? So like we're in a different kind of environment than 25, even 30 years ago, maybe even just 10 years ago, right? And so what that's done in many cases is, like Joe was saying earlier, life insurance is real simple, right? I mean, you don't have to explain how it works. They know how it works. So if you have that person that just wants to get down to the numbers, get down to the numbers. There's no need to go through the whole presentation if that's the way they want to go, right? You got to adjust to your client. Um, and you know, Grant Cardone says you can't make a sale if you don't give them a quote, right? So if the people are trying to push you out of the door, you're talking too much. You haven't even given them a quote and they're already like asking you to leave. You're talking way too much. You need to whip out your phone, do the quote, you know, show it to them, like Joe said, and you'll make a sell. Uh, Joe, have you ever made a sell on the front porch without even getting into the house?
Many times.
How about on the hood of a car?
Hood of a car, I've had in my car, trash can lids, um, you name it, dude. I mean, the point is that the presentation doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to be at the kitchen table. You don't even need to be in the house. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? You get them out front and, they got a front porch, especially, I mean, if it's, if weather permitting, it's not, 50 below zero, invite your clients. Hey, can we just sit out here on the front porch? It's a nice summer breeze. It's fresh air. Yeah, do it. I mean, do it wherever. It does not need, the situation doesn't need to be perfect. But the point is, if you don't show them numbers, you'll never make a sale. And the thing about it is that showing them a proposal or a quote or numbers, however you want to phrase it, is that's when the sales start. Um, I mean, doing a great presentation is great, but man, you got to give them numbers. They need they need something on paper that they can look at, or on your computer screen that they can look at to make a decision. And you know, most clients aren't necessarily going to buy on the first set of numbers that you give them, but they'll never purchase a product from you if you don't give them any numbers.
Yep.
That's something I learned back in the car business when I had people, I learned that lesson from my manager. I had people walking off the lot and they're like, dude, he's like, dude, what happened? I'm like, they weren't ready to purchase. He goes, did you give them numbers? I said, no, I didn't give them any numbers. He goes like, dude, you got to give them numbers. I mean, regardless, even if someone's not ready to purchase, you got to give them numbers. You got to give them a proposal. Everybody, let's make a commitment today. Is that as part of the basic, everybody gets a proposal, whether they want it or not. We're going to give them numbers. Fair enough.
Yep.
All right. Anything more about simplifying or sales scripts or presentation?
Nope. I think you
I
did a
think
great job.
we've come to the conclusion that it doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to go out there and do it. Have a basic understanding of what it is. Number 5, the fifth basic is massive action. Okay, here's the thing I know about massive action, Jimmy, is that massive action is the great equalizer. Okay, that massive action, I'm just telling you, will solve all of your problems. You know, if you're going out and you're door knocking on 100 doors a week, that will solve your problems. If you have 20 fresh leads, all it takes is about to do 100 door knocks. All it takes is about 20 leads a week, whether they're old leads or new leads, I don't care. Okay. You just need 20 leads a week. And you're thinking to yourself, well, the math doesn't work. How do you do 100 door knocks with only 20 leads? Trust me, it works. You know, you get your first batch of 20, you go out and you door knock all of those leads. You're only going to get a hold of a certain percentage of those. You're going to have carryovers. You're going to have a certain percentage that tell you to get lost, that you're never going to see again. You're going to move those out of your rotation. Maybe you don't throw them away, move them out of your current rotation. By the time 4 weeks, 5 weeks come around, you're going to have more than enough leads. But that's why it's important. Number one basic is to have people to talk to, is that in order to be able to go out and make those 100 door knocks every single week, you got to have fresh people to talk to. If you're still working, you know, if you're just rehashing and going back out to the same 20 people over and over, it's hard to have massive activity. Jimmy, what are your thoughts on massive activity?
I say track it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I'm working with new agents and they keep saying, "Oh, I've been door knocking. I've been door knocking." Well, let me see the numbers. How many doors are you actually door knocking on? And I think too often people fool themselves. They think that they're doing a lot more than what they're actually doing. When you track your numbers, you really see, oh, well, I only knocked on, 6 doors today, or only knocked on, 20 doors this whole week.
Yeah.
What were you doing the rest of the time? So like if you track your activity, it holds you accountable to yourself, and you really need to track it. But Joe's right. For those people that are thinking that they're going to get all their business from their friends and family and referrals and all that stuff, well, when you first get started, you're only going to you're going to go through all your warm market, and you're only going to get a handful of sales. And then once you get done with that, well, then who are you going to talk to, right? That's where the leads come in. Now, once you do this for a couple of years, 2-3 years, you've made so many sales and you've helped so many families, well, then those referrals start coming in like clockwork because you have a big book of business. But when you're starting your business off, you don't have that book, right? So leads is the way to go. You need to get in front of people, and like Joe said, it doesn't matter if they're new or old. You have to have somebody to talk to. So try to buy as many leads as possible. As far as efficiency goes, I personally believe you want to be on at least 20 A leads a week, and then you want to supplement that with some B leads or some recycled leads of various different types. And you can fill maybe you're working 30 or 35 leads altogether new every week, but 20 of them I think for me was my best bet for new leads. Now maybe your budget doesn't allow for that, but okay, we'll buy 20 B leads or 20 H leads.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I mean, you can buy those you can do the $1.50 aged lead store.
Yep.
Get them in close to in your zip code. So I mean, you just got to have, I mean, we can't emphasize that enough, man. You need fresh people to talk to every single week, and you just got to have, I think people underestimate the power of massive activity and don't understand what massive activity means. That means every single day you're out there prospecting. Monday through Friday, you're prospecting, you're door knocking, you're making phone calls, you're doing whatever it takes to make 10, 12, hopefully 15 presentations every single week. And like what Jimmy hit on, the important part is you got to track those numbers. You got to track the activity that you're doing. Otherwise, you're fooling yourself. I mean, I know same way, man. I've had conversations with plenty of agents, and it's like, man, I'm door knocking, I'm not catching anybody at home, and I'm like, well, dude, how many door knocks have you done this week? Well, I really don't know. Well, how many do you think you did? Well, I think I did about 10 or 15. I mean, come on, that's not massive action. 20 a day for 5 days a week, that's massive action. That's 100. That should be, especially if you're new. If you're going to take this business serious and this is your main source of income, your goal should be no matter what, I'm going to do 100 door knocks a week. Now, whether you get there or not, I don't know. Maybe you don't. Sometimes it's a good thing that you can't get your 100 in. That means you're making a lot, you're talking to a lot of people, you're making a lot of presentations. But at the end of the day, if you're not tracking those numbers, and we've got a great activity tracker, which we've got a ton of training on, and Jimmy and I can help, work with you and coach you how to track your activity, but super important. All right, Jimmy, the last thing I want to talk about, guys, those are the 5 basics. You got to have people to talk to. You got to have at least one carrier appointment. You got to have some very basic supplies, a basic understanding of the sales scripts and in-home presentation, and then you just got to go do the work. You got to throw massive action at it, and massive action will get you through the learning curve a lot quicker. The last thing I want to talk to you about is understanding the sales cycle. I learned this from Grant Cardone. I don't care what business you're in, okay? The sales cycle, whether you're in the restaurant business, real estate, car sales, insurance sales, whatever you're selling, there's 4 components to the sales cycle. It starts up at the top. It's marketing and advertising. You need to spread your brand, who you are, the Joe Johnson brand, the Jimmy Hernandez brand, Senior Solutions. You need to get in front of as many people as possible that don't already know who you are, because you want to spread your brand. How did Nike and Coca-Cola and McDonald's, how did they get so big? Marketing and advertising. Trust me, it wasn't word of mouth. It was marketing and advertising. So that's what we need to do as sales professionals. Think of yourself not as an insurance salesperson, but as an insurance marketer. That's what we're doing. We're marketing insurance. So we need to get out there. Marketing insurance, if you follow the arrows, is going to lead to what? Your lead creation and prospecting. And I think, Jimmy, is that a lot of people, including myself, is sometimes we underestimate the amount of prospecting it takes to be successful. Making 5 door knocks a day or 50 calls a day ain't gonna cut it. You need to be prospecting, if you're full time, 4, 5, 6 hours every single day out there actually prospecting, trying to get in front of clients. So you've got the lead creation and prospecting, which is going to lead to what? Presentations. You got to make presentations, and then the rest is, once you make the presentation, the follow-up, I should say follow up and follow through, is following that presentation through the application process, through the underwriting, the approval, and then following up with the client and doing the follow through, sending out your thank you cards and all that, which all that will come later, okay? And then you're just repeating the cycle. That's it. That's all you got to do. And it's very, trust me, regardless of what business you're in, this is the sales cycle that we need to be following. So, Jimmy, any final thoughts before we wrap up today's call? I think it's been I mean, my opinion, I think this is one of the better calls that we've done. I think it was great content for new agents as well as veteran and agents that have been here for a long time.
Joe, I think it was a great call too. I love the chalkboard for the presentation. That's cool too. So, but yeah, I think that's it. Well said, and I don't have anything to add to that.
All right, man. Well, God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. You know how to get a hold of me. So if you need me, please contact me. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.